as I am, you will realize that everything on this planet is a fucking cesspool, and it really fucking sucks. Wouldn't it be nice to get on a spaceship to fly to a better world? But someday, every single one of us will no longer have to live on this planet of stupidity because no one here gets out alive. People are so fucking stupid that the only way you can get out of this planet is you have to croak. But where do people go when they croak? That depends on what kind of a person they were. Now, in case you haven't heard, I decided to start the Church of David Carradine because he got to die while he was jerking off at the exact same moment that yours truly was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. And all the cool people in the world will be able to enter the kingdom of David Carradine after they croak. So, was Charles Manson allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine? Absolutely. Deep down, Charles Manson was a nice guy. It's all the people that fucked him over that caused him to turn out to be so fucked up. And not only that, Charles Manson was not only fucked over, but he was framed. And now he is planning on coming back from the dead to return to Earth to get even with those who fucked him over. Now, how about Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold? Were they allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine? Yes. Their life on this planet was shit because of the conformist fucking pieces of fucking filth who bullied and tormented them. Now, how about G.G. Allen, the greatest rock and roll star of all time? Was he allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine? Absolutely. And considering that most of you have never heard of G.G. Allen, I get to do the G.G. Allen spiel. G.G. Allen was not only the greatest rock and roll star of all time, but he was the most vulgar rock and roll star of all time. During a concert, G.G. Allen would take off all his clothes and he would beat off on stage. But if that's not all, he even urinated on stage. But if that's not all, he even took a shit on stage and he threw it at people in the audience. And during an interview, G.G. Allen once mentioned that he threw shit at people because it was a form of holy matrimony. And for that reason, he was allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine. And G.G. Allen even took a shit while he was in the kingdom of David Carradine, but people just ignored him because they don't give a shit, no pun intended, because it doesn't stink when someone takes a shit in the kingdom of David Carradine like it does on Earth, because Earth is controlled by Satan. Now I'm going to talk about Nancy. Nancy is a girl I know who decided to take her own life, which happened back in 1982. And Nancy was also a lesbian, so was she allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine? Well, she was a lesbian and she took her own life, so she has 2 strikes against her. Do you know that it has been proven that if you take your own life, you will be spending eternity of burning in hell? And you know how I found that out? By watching the 700 Club with Pat Robertson. They got a camera in hell to see what it's like there. And there was Satan, and he had his pitchforks, and there were people burning and screaming, and this woman went to hell because she decided to kill herself. But she prayed to Jesus, and Jesus went into hell and rescued her. They were actually able to get a video camera in hell without it melting. Now that is fucking amazing. Now I expect to hear a drum roll as I'm about to announce, was Nancy allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine? And the answer is yes. Because I have Asperger's, I have a much more difficult time with communicating with communication skills than I do now. So I wasn't really able to talk much about with Nancy, talk about very many things. But if that's not all, Nancy was friends with my friend Tony. And Tony was once at a movie theater in LaGrange, Illinois, when he went into a bathroom, when he saw this hot guy come out of one of the stalls. Tony was extremely horny, so he decided to go into the stall when he noticed that there was a turd in the turlet. And Tony decided to jerk off while he was looking at the turd. Tony told Nancy that he jerked off while looking at a turd, and her reaction was, there's nothing wrong with that. So, for that reason, Nancy was able, that means that Nancy had an open mind, so therefore she was allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine. Next is my grandfather. My grandfather was an authoritarian fucking prick. I was once listening to the radio early in the morning when my grandfather went in and turned it off. I decided to turn the radio back on, and he started yelling and screaming at me, and he started waving his fist at me, and he told me that I need a couple of those. My grandfather was yelling and screaming at me because he was concerned that it would wake up my parents. It turns out that him yelling and screaming is what woke my parents up and not the radio. And I'm expected to hear another drum roll, as was my grandfather allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine? And the answer is no fucking way. That brutal authoritarian fucking bastard. Now, last but certainly not least, was Laura Ingalls Wilder allowed to enter the kingdom of David Carradine? And the answer is not yet. But the good news is she'll get there eventually. Laura Ingalls was supposed to create controversy and write about having sex with dead bodies in her novels. But she refused to do that, and which caused her to get reincarnated as yours truly to live in this world of shit. Being diagnosed with Asperger's while David Carradine was jerking off is a good sign that I will be able to enter the kingdom of David Carradine.